Uganda Extra.
Thank you once again and welcome to Good Morning Uganda, Extra of Extra. My name is Jagenda Semakola Ziksoka. It is the 26th of May this year 2022, another very lovely Thursday morning. Welcome and thank you so much for choosing to be with us. Now just remind you that we at UBC TV here are donating blood. UBC Corporation, we are donating blood and it's open to the public. Please join us. Come try to save a life by donating just a unit of blood. Courtesy of UBC and the Ministry of Health in our gardens here. Just pass by, do that very noble patriotic duty of donating blood. It's not a preserve of only a UBC staff, but to the general public out there. Now, away from the conversation, back into our Extra of Extra. This morning, we're going to just get into a very engaging conversation, having looked at what the economy looks like. Now, with me in studios, the experts and, of course, the policymakers. We'll start by introducing the Minister of State for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, but in charge of planning, the Honorable Amos Lugolobi, also Member of Parliament. You're very welcome, the Honorable Amos Lugolobi.
Thank you very much and good morning to our listeners.
Thank you so much for having allowed to join us, Honorable Lugolobi. Together with the Honorable Minister is the Honorable Dr. Joseph Muvala. He's the Executive Director of the National Planning Authority. You are very welcome, Dr. Muvala.
Thank you very much and good morning, viewers.
Thank you for having allowed to join us. And of course, finally, with me in studios is Mr. Robert Suna. Suna is a research fellow at ACCOUNAIBILITY. You are also very welcome, Omulangira.
Thank you very much, Jagenda, and I'm pleased to be here. Good morning, viewers.
Okay, well, here is where we are, and we'll just get into our conversation. Our topic of conversation this morning is going to be about the implementation, the budget priorities for the financial year 2022-2023, and of course, enhancing the citizens' participation in promoting accountability and service delivery. Honorable Minister, of course, that starts with you. It concerns you. We are talking about the economy. I am happy to have in studios with me Dr. Muvala, one of Africa's most sober economists, and of course, the research fellow here at ACCOUNAIBILITY, Omulangira, Robert Suna. All of you, this is what you live every day, this is what you eat every day, and this is what you do. So I am very sure that at the end of our program here, we shall have had a way forward, and we shall have engaged the public to know what needs to be done with the struggling economy, not only of Uganda, but of course of the world. The Honourable Minister, I will start with you. Give us the introduction to what we talk about here, and of course, set the ball rolling.
Okay, thank you so much, moderator. Given what we have been going through over the last 2 years, as a country, as a continent, as the entire global economy, we are facing a big challenge. And the challenge is the one of restoration, where we're actually dumped by the crisis we have just had, and that continues in other countries like China today. But it was so devastating, both in terms of our health facilities, our lives, but also in terms of the economy in general. Our economy was not left the same. We had huge deficits in terms of our revenues, and therefore we had to borrow quite heavily. And the borrowing has serious implications, as we shall discuss later. So we are talking about an economy that is getting badly, borrowed. I don't want to use the word extremely borrowed, because we have more or less hit our debt ceiling. We have actually hit our debt ceiling of the debt to GDP ratio, which I think by the end of this year, we should be at around 51%. So that means that we have very limited fiscal space to continue borrowing and to actually meet our requirements. But it's at a time when we need to restore the economy, which means that we have to invest quite massively to boost aggregate demand within the economy, to restore what we lost in the last 2 years, because we only had contracts on major roads in this country that we are running, but we had to suspend them because of financing.
Okay.
Now we are incurring arrears on such infrastructure today.
Okay.
We have lost 2 years because the education system was locked down, and it had implications. You know, we are trying to bring ourselves back to where we are.
Okay.
And that is the essence, actually, of the coming budget.
What are the possible chances of a rebound from if by the end of next year or by the end of the year we'll be at 51%, which is actually a very high for us for the debt ceiling? What are the possible remedies of us rebounding positively to actually get away from this and get back to normalcy?
Yeah, fortunately, we are a country that is highly gifted by nature. I'm imagining countries that do not have similar resources like we have, especially the one of the climate. You know, despite this pandemic, we have been able to produce the food that we need. And that is the first basic need humankind needs. You know, in this country, we can rely on that resource and restore the economy. So we are going to invest very heavily in terms of empowering our communities to produce. They have the land, they have the weather, they have the climate with them. You know, they are already seated on the land. So what we need to do now is to empower them.
Okay.
And that's why we have been talking about the parish development model. Next week, we shall be going out, all cabinet ministers, to popularize this model.
Okay.
Before we actually transmit 117 million shillings to each parish. The idea is that they use the resources to produce.
It's 117 million.
Yeah, because we have 17 million for this financial year.
Oh, okay, yes.
Which we have not dispatched yet.
And
next year, we are dispatching 100 million shillings
per parish.
Per parish. And that's a lot of money, you know, and that's on top of other interventions.
Okay.
Yeah, we are also strengthening our tax administration measures to ensure that we raise our capacity, you know, to raise revenue to support government.
Okay.
And the indicator, the trend is actually not so bad. We are doing quite well.
Okay.
But our investment also in the oil industry, you know, is gaining a lot of momentum after the signing of the financial investment decision.
Okay.
We are beginning to get huge inflows, and I think you can read from the current stable exchange rate we have been enjoying. Because if that exchange rate had worsened, the crisis would be much deeper. Would be having bigger inflation levels. Today we are talking about this Ukraine-Russia crisis, and we have had experience of some inflation, but we have not hit the inflation target yet. We are still operating below the inflation target of 5%.
Okay.
Yeah, which means that in terms of resilience, this economy, you know, is quite resilient.
Okay.
Despite these shocks, we have not been terribly hit.
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Coming to you, Dr. Mvala from the National Planning Authority. Firstly, you gave us a Vision 2040, which we hope to achieve in the next couple of years. The Vision 2040 has got about 6 national development plans, and we are implementing a 3rd national development plan. It comes at a time when also COVID is leading to the country, and we see the disruptions here. I had an opportunity to host you in studios here just right at UBC when COVID was here. I think it was in 2020. And we're talking about how to keep the economy surviving. And we agreed that for as long as people are alive, the economy can actually crumble, it can die. It is easier to resurrect the economy than to bring back people to life. We are in a state today that not so many people envisaged. You are the people that we're looking to. Some of us are very illiterate in as far as economic issues are concerned. How do we get away from where we are today, where everybody thinks and feels this could even be more terrible than the COVID itself?
Thank you very much, Mr. Jagenda. First and foremost, the issues have been addressed by my minister. The critical thing is recovery of the economy. And first, I want to say that we are better off than we envisaged. We are doing very well.
Than we envisaged?
Yes, we are doing very well. That's the truth. We should have been worse. And we should thank our side of production. We should thank the fact that this country has tried to have a resilient economy. We should thank the fact that agriculture is producing. You note that even in the middle of the crisis, prices of agricultural products have not gone out of way. We should also thank the fact that we have started replacing some of the imports that we have been importing. You could imagine what would happen if we were not doing our steel here and we're importing it from outside. If we're importing steel, we're importing wheat, we're importing petrol, we're importing cement, you could imagine what would happen. So the plans that have been put forward by the Honourable Minister and through the approval of Parliament of ensuring that we replace those that we can produce from here are actually working and making this economy more resilient. The plans that we do our own refinery is a very critical plan for resilience. Just imagine if by this time we had our own refinery. Then even the prices that are coming out of the barrel of petrol outside would not affect us this much. So it is critical that when you even look at the budget that the minister will be reading, you see that our investment in UNOC are high to ensure that we
National Oil Company.
Yes, to build a resilient economy. The one thing that we are mindful of, shocks are going to be there every day. We don't know the next shock. The most important thing is how resilient our economy is. And one of the things that this budget tries to deal with, and the plan, under objective number 1 of the plan, value addition. Do value addition to provide an uptake of what you're producing. Then invest in production and productivity so that you can protect yourself. Imagine if we were not producing food from here, what inflation levels we would have, given the basket of goods that we use. So for us, we think that even with COVID, the plan that we have put forward is still very relevant. What we have to do is to tighten the belts a little bit. If we projected a growth of 6% and we are growing at 4%, it means something must give way.
Okay.
That's what we encourage.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Omlangira Suna from Accord. Here is where we are. The Honourable Minister here will be reading to us the budget on the 14th of next month. And whether it will come to us exciting or not exciting, but of course he's got that duty and mandate to actually tell us for the next financial year 2020 to 2023, these are the government proposals, this is what we expect, and so much is what we expect to come domestically, and of course our borrowings will be from here or whatever it is. Let me hear from you, from now Accord, as one of these other stakeholders who also look into what the government does. Are we on the right trajectory, and are we safe, or the experts here are only just comforting us like doctors talking to patients that they know will not survive tomorrow?
Yeah, again, I end on a very good note. But like my seniors have explained, I think, well, as there is cause for pessimism, and that pessimism is not only in Uganda, it's global, it's East Africa-wide, it's for everyone. There is hope.
There is hope.
There is hope. And I'm speaking from an independent mind, which is not bogged by whatever position. I mean, when you look at the suggestions that are in place by government to deliver or help the economy recover, if they were implemented in a nation that does not have existing natural mechanisms, we would say they will not work. I want to emphasize that Uganda is gifted, like you said. The highest component of our inflation basket is food. If these situations hit on an economy that cannot sustain their food basket, a highly industrialized economy. I mean, the US has suffered the highest in so many years, the UK, Kenya, here, our neighbor, Rwanda, India, wherever. They are battling with that. But for us here, what has helped us is that even amidst imported inflation, because all our leading suppliers of imports are already facing inflation. So the time the goods get here, they already have a component of inflation. And being a net importing country, we would expect to have no choice but to expect high what? Prices. But these have been cushioned by our ability to sustain naturally food production. I think that is a blessing we may not thank the Ministry of Finance for that because it's not attributable, but we are saying the situations and interventions are landing on a ground that is already favored. So whereas there is expected, the pessimism is naturally there and it's global, we already have some bit of cushion and the resilience to be happy about it. I think I would like to comment on the issue of debt, which the minister has highlighted. It has always been a question in the economic circles. Why should Japan have a debt over 150% and not regarded, and their debt being regarded as sustainable? And then Uganda, which is almost getting to 50, now it's 50.1, it will get to 51% by the end of the financial year, is being declared almost non-sustainable. They are discussing the issue, they are not only discussing sustainability. You may be sustainable, but there are other components that we need to measure when we are discussing debt, beyond the debt to GDP ratio. And that's why I'm happy when the minister mentions that they are trying to put efforts in the revenue administration to raise revenue. Because if you are using almost 31% of your tax revenue collected to pay or to service the debt, I don't care about the tax to GDP, the debt to GDP ratio. But if the revenue effort cannot cover up your debt, it means like if you say 31%, it means for every 100 shilling you collect, 31 goes to debt. You're left with 70%. And your expenditure is continuing because we're investing in infrastructure, investing in other components of the economy. So to me, via debt, I think we need to address the issue of revenue, the revenue effort, because I mean borrowing for a spending economy is natural. We shall continue to do what? To borrow. But how would we cushion the economy and make sure that our debt is sustainable? Invest in the revenue administration. That is very critical so that we raise the revenue effort. The second component I think we need to look at in terms of debt management and servicing is the idea of boosting exports. And the National Development Plan highlights it, and I'm happy that the budget will talk to how we can promote our export. Because another measure of the resilience or the sustainability of debt is measured on debt vis-a-vis, net present value of the debt vis-a-vis the exports. If you cannot produce for export, and yet you are an economy who borrows in foreign currency, where do you get the foreign exchange to pay the debt? So there is need to be serious effort, deliberate effort to invest in our productive capacity to enable us not only to consume domestically, but to be able to export. And I was telling people that the COVID-19 pandemic not only exposed our feeble systems in terms of health and social safety, but it can also provide an opportunity for our country. We are talking about the Democratic Republic of Congo joining the East African community. Can we take advantage of that? How much were you exporting South Sudan, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda in terms of agriculture? It means now our agricultural produce should be able to sustain our own production, but able to feed the region. Those are opportunities that can come through as a result of this pandemic. It also gave us opportunity to start thinking about import substitution, which my senior colleague, Dr. Mvara, is talking about. If the shocks will always be, if we didn't have this shock, it would be difficult for us to think of alternatives. Now, COVID has taught us that, no, you can even start producing masks, you can start producing sanitizer, you can start, which is substituting the original imported what? Commodities. So if we are discussing strategies and plans to resurrect or recover the economy, the idea of import substitution is very critical. Increasing production to enable export promotion is very critical, but also emphasizing the need to support revenue administration to generate or increase its revenue effort. Once we address that, then countries like Japan and US are not worried about their debt because they are able to promote employment, the production capacities are high, they can export. They're even growing at a lower rate than us. I mean, Japan is about 0.5%, US is almost recession. But they are not much hit like our economies, yet for us we are growing faster. So those three components for me are very critical. Revenue generation, investing in capacities for export promotion and import substitution mechanisms. And then we can see the economy.
Thank you very much,
sure.
Research Fellow there, Ndugu Suna. Honorable Minister, 1 to 3, 4 days, a few weeks, you really trust the budget. And of course, you push the pressure to Ndugu Rujoki at Uganda Revenue Authority to find the money to actually do the things. And then we talk about tax administration. But what I think we're also failing to do as a country is to increase on our tax base. The tax base still seems to be not what is desirable. Not so long ago, during the Professor Mtevite public lecture, the PSST talked about agriculture not being able to transform this country. And of course, I think it was also taken out of context. I had an opportunity to read this article in the Observer for what he actually meant. And when you look at the realities in there, because Ugandans at times do not want very honest people. When you speak honestly, you cause problems. We would very much at least want to be, at times, get excited. But when you look at how many people are engaged in agriculture that can sustain us or develop us or do all the things, they may not be the figures that we tend to give. When we talk about the taxes, the people that pay taxes as they're supposed to pay taxes in this country also not those. What we need to do is to ensure that we increase on our tax base and to also, because it's an agrarian economy, it also increase on the productivity of agriculture as opposed to what President Museveni calls Echida Chonka. Only to move from Echida Chonka to some other thing that is past only Echida.
I think there are plethora measures that we need to undertake as a country, because in our fiscal strategy, the number one item there is raising revenue. Through raising revenue, we are able to deal with the problem of debt. We are able to provide a resource for financing the various interventions within the National Development Plan Dr. Mbora is preparing for us. So the issue of raising revenue is therefore very central in our fiscal strategy. But the second one is how to spend those resources. And that's what you might want to call investment of those available resources. Because through that investment is where we generate the resilience that we are talking about, is where we generate the growth, economic growth and social transformation that we are talking about. So we have to see efficiency in the allocation of resources. Now, when we allocate resources effectively, the result of that is the growth in the economy. And as long as we have the growth in the economy, we are actually widening or broadening the tax base. We are building more capacity for collecting more. And that's why we are talking about debt to GDP. So when you raise your GDP, you're actually improving on that ratio. You know, and your credit rating actually improves. Any lender would want to look at you. So to raise tax revenue, the issue of raising GDP is very critical, and that's why I started by telling you we are intervening to make sure that everybody in Uganda becomes productive. And that's why our theme now is the full monetization of the economy, to make sure that you and me, everybody, has something to produce. And when he has something to produce and sell, he actually generates income. And that income that we need him to spend so that we collect indirect taxes from him. Him without realizing that he's paying us tax by buying soap. You know, so once we boost the capacity to purchase, we're actually boosting the capacity of the country to raise revenue. Secondly, is the issue of tax administration. You do not want to be collecting taxes when there are leakages here and there, when you have so many people evading these taxes. So you have got to strengthen your tax administrative measures to ensure that you don't have leakages. But also the issue of tax exemptions, you know, is something that we are looking at very critically. How much are we giving away in the form of tax exemptions through VAT, through corporation tax, issues like that. So in summary, the issue of raising revenue and the capacity of effectively spending that revenue is what is going to take us forward. But we have to look at the value chains of what we are doing.
Okay, very important.
In order to generate value for this country. He was talking about exports. And look at Africa, because that's our immediate target. Maybe before I go there, I should provide information here, how we have been performing in terms of exports. In terms of EAC, we have had a positive trade balance. In terms of the continent, African continent, again, we have a positive trade balance.
Okay.
But with the rest of the world, Asia, Europe, we have such a terrible negative trade balance, meaning that we are importing more than what we are able to export there. But when you look at the numbers, in terms of what we export within EAC and the African continent, they're still very low. We actually spend a lot more money within Asia and the European Union. And this is the problem we have to fix.
Okay.
Dr. Mubawala is talking about import substitution, but also trading within ourselves in Africa. We are not producing enough to trade amongst ourselves. We have very little as Uganda to buy from our member countries within the African Union. And likewise, they have very little to trade from us. Because what we produce, they don't need it. You know, you produce raw beans of coffee. You don't add value to that coffee. So they are not going to come here and buy those beans. They want processed coffee. They want soluble coffee. And they get that from Europe, where we export this coffee. So as Africa, we have to critically look at this and say, what am I, you look at what your colleague is importing, and then target those very items that he's consuming to promote trade within the African continent. Because we are interconnected.
Okay.
Congo that he's talking about are just our neighbors. You just have to deliver your goods in Impondwe, and the goods are already in Beni, Kivu, everywhere in Congo, you know. But we have not, you know, been able so far. We have done something, because you'll find Ugandan cement in Congo, Ugandan steel everywhere, you know. But we really have to exploit the backward and forward linkages in our resources, the minerals, get them out there. Don't export them raw.
Okay.
Produce those products that you need, export within the continent. If we are able to do that, to trade amongst ourselves, and that was the whole essence of creating the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. We have to capitalize on that, take advantage of that, look at what Africa has been importing from the Asian countries, import substitute that as the African continent, you know, we shall get rich. Africa, you know, is a sleeping giant, and I've been saying this. We are a sleeping giant.
Kurambala.
Kurambala, and once we wake up, everybody will, I think, just take off. They will disappear, because we are one of those continents that are heavily, naturally gifted.
Isn't somebody facilitating for Kurambala? That they should keep us.
Of course, many of them want us to continue Kurambala. They want us to see us in that sleeping mode. And that's why when they are giving support, they give support to human rights, support to those other things. You know, they don't go to the core of the real issues that we want you to industrialize. You go and build that industrial park. They hardly go into those areas. You know, and that's why we have to look for our own resources to ensure that we do that. Security is very key in terms of economic transformation. Nobody will lend you money for your security. You know, you have to find that money to ensure that there is peace and stability within your economy. You are generating goods. That is entirely your responsibility. And that's why our strategy now focuses on building that capacity. And over the years, this is what we have been exactly doing. People are looking at our data and say, you guys, what have you been doing? Much of that money has been invested in critical infrastructure.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Planner, Dr. Mubawala from the Planning Authority. We have a plan, of course, 2020, 2025. 2020, 21, 24, 25, our third national development plan. And when we're getting the plans, we never anticipated, but there would be COVID that would shut the economy for 2 years. Monkeypox is there. We do not know the effects of monkeypox. Maybe after monkeypox, there will be another something pox or whatever. We do not know. Are there chances of revisiting, coming back to the plan and saying, okay, this is what we had anticipated, but because of this shock, then we get back to the drawing board? Number two, is there anything that we can get to and say, as a country and as an economy, we'll put all our energies onto this particular thing, such that when we achieve this will help us manage all the others? Or we try each and everything and say, let's scale up industrialization, let's get into agricultural value production, let's get into maybe creating productive jobs for our youth, etc. Do we have something that we can say, let's run with this and the others will follow? Or we'll do them jointly and concurrently to see how we manage?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, when you look at the comprehensive planning framework of the country, it provides that you have plans, you have a vision, you have a 10-year perspective plan, you have a 5-year plan, and below 5-year plans, you have program plans now, away from sector plans. You have local government plans that feed into. When you talk about a plan, it's not just the NDP document, but you also have to look at all those program plans that give you the how of implementing that plan. And it's a requirement that halfway of that plan, you should be able to check, assess yourself. Where are we? It's most likely from this assessment that we have already started doing, that the minister is leading, that we are going to make changes to this plan. Because I think the results are very clear. First and foremost, while we took care of COVID, we over-anticipated the recovery. We were talking of we will grow by 6 by reducing it down from 7 before COVID. We have grown below 4, and therefore it shows that we are going to be looking at that. The revenue projections have been lower than expected. So what we are going to do precisely, to be clear to the country, that we are going to do, first and foremost, looking at the plan, the strategic direction is excellent. The minister has described it. Add value, build your infrastructure, build the resilience for the private sector to survive, look at the capacity of government to lead service delivery. That is not changing. But what is going to change is that you may find you have 5 roads. We projected to do 4,000 kilometers of road. And the minister has already alluded to the fact, yes, that because of these changes we had to put money in health, we are going to give away some kilometers of road.
To forfeit them?
Yes.
For another plan?
Yes, for purposes of fitting within the budget. Resources are not elastic. We have the capacity. You have been discussing debt GDP. It's about the capacity of the economy. Borrow as much as your capacity of the economy is. That's why we do debt GDP, very critical. So we are going to make some changes, certainly. And those changes are going to be for the better. And now that leads to your number 2. Are there things we hold on so dearly that we cannot touch? We will not touch anything that brings macroeconomic stability.
Macroeconomic stability?
Yes, and security. Because that is the basis of the economy.
It's the spine? Yes,
it's the spine. So I don't want to use countries. Some of you have traveled, we're in countries where you put money on a wheelbarrow. What social development can you do in such a country if you get to that kind of level? One of my biggest problems in this country is that we are getting so fond of being macroeconomically stable that we are beginning to take it for granted.
Is that so?
Yes. I hear people do this, touch this, reserves. What are the reserves doing? Come on. We need to be macroeconomically stable for us to do other things. It's the basis, the fundamental. And as you notice, there is a stage. At one time we were doing poverty reduction, and we were putting money more in education, in health, to reduce and help economy that had almost been destroyed. Then, when the NDP started, and the Honorable Minister is here, is the father of the first NDP, I'm not the one. That's why I'm very careful when he's here, because
He's the father of the first NDP.
he's the father of the first NDP, if you didn't know. I don't think he's the Minister of Planning by mistake. And that's why you should not, you never call me Chief Planner when he's around. So the point is that you are now seeing the NDP shifting to say, go and spend on the fundamentals. There is a strategy. People think that people are not thinking. Spend on the fundamentals to exploit the opportunities. You can't touch those opportunities unless the fundamentals have been dealt with. Certain things we will not touch in the fundamentals. You will not get the oil if we don't do the oil roads. If we don't do the ports where this equipment is going to pass. For example, we are doing the meter gauge to Pakwach. But we must now connect on the lake to where the equipment is going to go. A lot of equipment is going to come. So we are saying certain infrastructures are not going to be
Shall
touched.
not be tampered with.
We will tamper with anything else. We will reduce foreign travels. If you notice, all our budgets have no foreign travel. Only when it is necessary are people traveling. And we will do more to cut. But whenever we cut, we are going to put in the fundamentals to exploit the opportunities. What are your fundamentals? Infrastructure. We're also going to put in education as much as we can to ensure that we have the human capital. Because you will not achieve the benefits of oil unless you have certified skills. Nobody will allow you in those places where they do oil, because for them their shares are affected even by accidents. So as a government, a decision has been taken, we are going to do that. We'll continue making the basis of health to ensure that our health is okay. And then there are issues like refinery that we are not giving away because it's at the basis of resilience. The storage facilities in Jinja, those are critical.
The UNOC result.
Yes, so the UNOC investment. I know that when you read the budget, when the Minister finally reads the budget, you're going to find that these investments are the ones you find there. So there are things, we are going to do a lot of prioritization. When do we do the midterm review? And as a planning authority, we'll be presenting to the Minister what we think, those are the critical things in the years to come, the 2 years, and what we should leave behind. And when we do that, we don't do it alone. We do it with the programs. So we are going to make changes. This is to put notice to the program heads, to put notice to the country that changes are going to happen to improve, to ensure that our plan fits the circumstances of the day.
Sooner, talk to me about citizen participation and of course promoting what we call accountability. That's very crucial. That's very important. I love the conversation when Dr. Mvala, the Honorable Ugolobi here, and yourself discuss and talk about these things in boardrooms, etc. But citizen participation, we need to, because when you read the National Development Plan, and of course when you read subsequently a budget framework paper, the budget itself, set of the nation addresses, all these documents are indeed very good documents. They're plausible documents. But the social fiber, the social development of our people, they do not own these things. They do not, we're building flyovers, we're building all these bridges, we're building all the meter gauge. And that's why you find it very easy for us here to actually go and pull away the equipment from the railway. It doesn't even benefit us. Take it, go refine it for scrap somewhere and use it for another thing, because you are social development of our people. Talk to me about that, and I will also request the Honorable Minister also talks to us about that component of social development.
Thank you very much. I was really excited when I heard the Honorable Minister say that the cabinet ministers are going to move out to talk to the nation about the parish development model. I think that's a very strong statement, and I applaud the government for taking that direction.
It's a plus in advance.
It's a plus in advance.
Before they even get out.
Yes, because it is okay to...
The thought is a good one.
Yes, the thought is very nice. If it is implemented, I think the world would be happy about it, because the model in itself is a very good model. All the 7 pillars are very critical, and if you're a person who is interested in decentralization, and you see money going up to the lowest, almost almost the lowest aspect of the society, is something to be proud about. We can discuss the other challenges, including the structures and the rest later, but the mere fact that such amount of money is going down to the lowest person at the society, the poorest of the poor, is a very good motivation. But it was lacking some bit of ownership, both at the central level where the cabinet ministers are seated and the people who are going to receive it. I mean, we don't want to wish to see the idea of social capital, social development and consultation. It is not my wish to see a person who has benefited from a parish development model behave the same way they used to do in some programs like NADS. I mean, my school fees are not here. My child has been sent away from school. They are back home, and I have a NADS goat.
Dowry.
And even dowry. So they sell it to support that. And the idea comes with, how did you message the whole package, the particular intervention, to be able to communicate it to the people who are benefiting from it. So we may sit as planners, like you said, in the boardrooms and say this, but without the involvement of the people who are going to be ultimate beneficiaries of these programs, it becomes a challenge. That's why I applaud the government and partners. We have what we are calling the National Budget Month. It used to be a week, it's now a month, where all key stakeholders are involved to popularize the budget. The Wananchi want to know what is in the budget for me. You and I know that when we were growing up in the villages, our parents would even save money to buy dry cells to put into the radio to wait for the budget speech. To
listen to the budget.
Yes. Lately it doesn't happen. So where do they get the budget information? So that's why we need to change the mechanism of communicating this. That's why when we say the National Budget Month, with activities aimed at making sure that every citizen understands what is in the budget for them. That way you are building a critical mass that will understand economic issues beyond the boardroom. That once they know that this is the parish model, they know even the ministers have come all the way from Kampala to come and tell us about this thing. It must be very important. They will lend you an ear. If something lacks ownership, they can use it the way they want. They don't know that it benefits society. And you don't wish to be autocratic to impose it on them. It won't work that way.
It won't work that way.
So I think we are taking good directions in terms of the intervention, but still a lot needs to be done. And I think Honorable Goy would agree with me. I think there is a lot of engagement that has happened in the budget process than before in terms of policy formulation. Now you can see more consultation of civil societies, academia. Government no longer works in silos.
All the stakeholders are involved in the process.
By having a permanent secretary who has a former academic is not a mistake. It's because government is trying to listen that actually to transform the nation you need all of us on board. So I think we are not in a bad direction in that aspect.
Thank you very much. Mlangira Suna. Honorable Minister, social development.
Yeah, in fact, just yesterday, I commissioned a team supported by the AUDA NEPAD, the Africa Union Development Agency, in this very area of citizenship participation. They are working with the National Development Planning Authority to formulate a tool for strengthening that cooperation between the citizen and the government in formulating policies, like the budget policies. Now, you want to build a health center in, I don't know which village you come from.
Salama, Munyonyo.
Oh, you come from here. Now,
Salama, Munyonyo.
It's not just a matter of us sitting in Kampala in our boardrooms and we go and construct a health center there. We want to consult you. Do you really need a health center here? What kind of facility do you want? Could a health center 2 work for you? Health center 3? What are the common diseases here? So that we design the health facility when we know the needs of the community. And that is a tool that we are now developing to deepen further this whole idea of citizenship participation. Dr. Mvawala's law, the National Planning Act, does not allow him to sit in a boardroom and write a development plan. It has to be a heavily consultative process.
To know exactly.
Yes. All the ministers, the Ministry of Finance and the technical people, before we formulated the current the budget, we had to go out in all the regions of Uganda, and we met several people to listen to them. What are they saying? What are they commenting about the previous budget? What were the challenges? And after listening, then we come back, sit in our top management meeting and discuss the outcome of those consultations. And we involve the civil society, as he has told you. You know, when we go down there, we involve the citizens. You know, we listen to them, but we are now, with the assistance of the African Union, through the OUDA agency, we are going to see how we develop a tool for ensuring that we standardize this, we do it more professionally, there's more interactive communication, you know, so that everybody is involved. Of course, we do not have to forget the influence of politics. As we do all these things.
Exactly.
You know, some people enjoy so much politics than anything else.
They in, they out all
yeah,
the time.
they go out of their way even to try and defeat something that is so obvious
and noble.
And noble to the population. You know, and I think we really need to sensitize these people that when it comes to national development, it's a totally different ball game. You know, we don't have to mix politics with the development. You are developing a road. Someone is simply frustrating you to construct a road. The public infrastructure is claiming that I have this cultural tree here, and then some politicians are supporting him, that you don't have to touch that tree. But that's where the road has to pass. The rail line has to pass.
You talk about a tree that belongs to my clan. I come from the same clan.
So you were the guys standing in the way of development?
No, I wanted development. I wanted development because I know you can find a tree elsewhere. It's my clan. I didn't agree with my clan members about a tree and development. I told them we can find trees elsewhere.
Elsewhere, yes.
Yeah. So. But Dr. Mvala, on social development, that's very critical for me because unless we tackle it, we will continue having a population that has whose parents are actually children, and we have children having children because they have nothing to do. The government is struggling, you're planning and doing all the things, and you want to see this country transform. We look at Vision 2040, that is where we want to be, but the people that we're planning for have nothing to do with what is being planned for them. They are detached, they have no ownership, they have no sense of belonging, and the Honorable Ugolobi is struggling. Let's do this, you are struggling there. My brother Suna there is, they want to see all this, but the people are not there. Social development.
For me, if you are talking about it in economic terms, that is the most sufficient condition. All the things we do are necessary. The other one is what makes whatever we do tick. And it is very critical for us to get it right. And you know the trouble, like the minister is saying, as these clans exist, they exist. As these kingdoms exist.
They exist.
They exist. And so many times we have to go to them and use them. In our mode of social development, if you're going to talk about a leper, you must get a leper to talk about the leper. It is always softer. When you use a leper, otherwise you might go and do a feast and you are insulting the guys. So at the end of the day, I think the model in community development, the ministry that is concerned, we have a tough job to do. But a very important job to do. And that can happen. You know, most of our population is in school. I think we need to go back and use schools again. When you see me, I stayed in Livingstone Hall at university, and I don't step on grass. Because I got this from Makerere. We were the so-called smart guys. So you grow up. Because I went to Namiriango, there are certain things I don't do. So the bottom line is that this guy is a weaver from Kisubi. But the point is...
I am from Tororo College.
Can't you see?
I'm a Nyangolian.
Yes, so the point is that we can use this school to impart some of the things. Because unfortunately, schools have become more important than homes. No wonder during COVID, everybody was saying, when are these kids going back?
We cried back the children to school.
Yes,
we were crying.
When are these kids going to school? So maybe we have to use that. And then we also have to use this mobile, which is becoming very, very important.
Okay.
And accept that technology has come.
Okay.
And we need to be dealing with this. But I wanted to say something about PDM. Many people think PDM is a political program. It is not. For
political program to give people some money
it is
for
not.
having supported the
I want you to go.
I
want you to go.
Yes,
but you know,
it's
also deadly for you to separate the politics from planning. Who gives you priorities? For God's sake,
the voters.
Yes, and whom do they give the mandate?
The politician.
The politician.
Thank you very much. So, but that is not the most important thing. The thing is, look at the overall goal of your plan. Increasing what? Household incomes. It's not by mistake we are saying go closer to the people. That's all we are saying. Go closer to the people.
Okay.
Let the action be closer to the people. Let the money also go closer to the people. It's going to be challenging, by the way. But it is better challenging when the money is closer to the people, when it's far away.
Thank you. It's a very good project. The PDM is a very, very, very good project. And from your thinking.
Actually, it's a way of life. It's not a project.
Oh, okay.
It's now becoming a way of life. We want everybody to think PDM. I want you to think your ward right now. How many Ugandans know what is happening in their wards?
In their what?
A ward. For you in city, you call them wards. For us in the village, we call them parishes.
A ward.
How many people know how many homesteads are in their parishes?
Okay.
We want it to be a way of life, that in your parish you know each other. Even when you're doing the PDC is headed by people we know. You cheat us, you live with us. You steal our money,
be part of it.
You live with us.
So this 100 million shillings is not coming to just thank us for having voted rightly.
No, not at all.
We want, and for those who didn't vote right, should not be worried.
And financial inclusion, which we have seen as the key for including all Ugandans, to move them away from Chida.
Chonka.
Yeah, so this thing is very well thought.
Okay.
It has challenges like anything.
Yeah.
But it will keep improving. We are not gods.
Okay.
Yes.
We have 2 minutes. Sooner. Use 1 minute and or even a few seconds, and the minister will close it down.
So I'm just adding on the PDM. I mean, beyond the Chida Chonka and the structures, we are also happy that the Constitutional Court put an end to creation of more local government units, so we don't expect more parishes for now. So
we sort what is already there. We manage what is already there.
100 million per parish is 100 million per parish.
Okay. Oh yes, I think that's also very important, because I think that's the worry. And actually, the MP is also agitating and saying we do not have enough parishes.
They want to create more
parishes. Many parishes just helping you to get more money, as if we're struggling for food to eat.
So we are happy that there are no more parishes for now.
Honourable Minister, we close this down with you.
Yes. Of course, we expect that on a successful implementation of the parish development model, we are going to get more output in terms of commodities. Let's take the example of maize. It's going to create new challenges for us as a country. So at the ministry, together with in collaboration with other ministries, we are thinking about what to do with post-harvest, storage, value addition, and marketing of what is going to come out of there. Now, the planning, which we are going to do with Dr. Mbawala, is going to be focused on that during this midterm review. How do we complete this value chain so that we don't end up with a huge surplus that will create problems for us? The issue of price stability, so that the producer does not get frustrated and is not able to go back to the garden. Because when you produce, and we are saying we are fighting the problem of Chida Chonka, you want the person to sell what he produces at a fairly good price. And we have to ensure that we deliver that objective. So we have to ensure there is price stability. This cyclical variation in prices, you know, during shortage, the price shoots up. During bump harvest, it goes to the ground. We must have a stable price.
Okay.
And an intervention is required in that particular area. And we are going to engage to make sure that we deal with this problem as we implement the PDM.
Okay. Well, I can't thank you enough, Honorable Minister Amos Lugolobi, State Minister for Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Judge of Planning, and also Member of Parliament representing the people of
Tenjeru
North
in
County.
Kayunga.
Thank you very much for having allowed to join us. And of course, to all the people in Kayunga, firstly, thank you so much. Your Member of Parliament has been with me, and to the rest of Ugandans, our Minister has been with us to discuss with us this morning. Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Muvawala, the Executive Director of the National Planning Authority, and also Katukiro of the Wachabazinga. I just couldn't miss saying that out. Azo Mugabula. Azo Mugabula myself. I had to say that. And thank you so much, Robert Suna, research fellow there from ACCOUD. We thank you for having allowed to join us yet again on this day. We'll stop the conversation here, and that's where we are. 14th of next month, we'll be reading our budget. 7th of next month will be the State of the Nation address, and of course the President will be speaking to us about the economy, and also opening officially the session of Parliament, second session of Parliament, and then we'll get the budget that we'll also get to, and of course see where it takes us. But like the experts here say, we will survive. We will, there is hope, and slowly and steadily we will get to where we want to be. There are bigger visions and plans that we're supposed to achieve as a country. We all need to put our synergies together in every which way. Now, I am not an economist, but this is the best I can actually do, to interrogate the economists, to tell us, and of course, to air out the message from the experts. My name is Jagenda Semakula Zikusoka Sajabi, wishing all the best. Shalom and good morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Live